I thought it was good. Okay. Okay, let's try this with Yagala Lon Tama the Bisrei Sarname. It's part of the, huh? Yeah. So it's in the song that we sing, that's sung by the Arizal, made up by the Arizal, and even the letters of it are letters of the Arizal. Yagala Lon Tama the Bisrei Sarname the Inundesh Bishmei Kafila Uklisha. You have a siddur over here? You have a siddur? To reveal the reason you got a long time in the Bisrei Sarnami. To reveal the secret reason of the 12 breads in the Holy Temple, there was 12 breads over there. It's the song we sing in the daytime. Where is the song here? Oh. Yegalal Tarmi the Bisreisar, that really reason that is in the 12 breads. In the Holy Temple, they put 12 breads. They would change them. They would be there the whole week. On the there was a thing called the face bread, lechem apani. The inunash bishmei, that these 12 breads, the secret of them is in the name of God. In bishnei kafila uklisha, double and weak. That's what it says. Does it make sense? Double and weak. Kfila uklisha. To reveal the secret reason of the 12 breads, that these 12 breads, they would change them, like every Erev Shabbos, they would change these bread. That these 12 breads, that the secret of the 12 breads are in the name of God, doubled and weak. Who wrote this? Rav Yitzchak Lurie. You can even see the initials of the first sentence in this song is Asara lisodasa betzava lisabotava azamim bo ashta azamim bo ashta azamim bo ashta be'ahashta tikak karisha nahora yishrei bo bekirusha. It's a song. You sing it on Shabbos at the meal, and the initials are Ani, Yitzchak, and then Lurie, Yitzchak Lurie, that was the Arizal. He wrote the words. So what's going on over here? Now this is going to explain why are we talking about this now. This is the parasha Chayei. Because Chayei, this is the story where Abraham goes and he buys Marat HaMachpelah. Marat HaMachpelah. The word Machpelah means doubled. Rashi brings several reasons why it's called the doubled. Mara means the cave, and Machpelah means doubled cave. Why some say it's because it was one cave on top of another cave, and because all the couples are buried there. Avram, his wife, etc. Martha Machpelah. Yitzhak and his wife, Yaakov and his wife. Kafel could be, yeah. Kafel. I mean, there's people that are experts in this, in the etymology of words, and they can trace, every language they can trace. Some people say you can trace every language back to Hebrew. I never really looked at it. And the reason there's differences is because there's differences in how people say letters and how the mouths are formed and accents and things like that. And eventually one word develops into another word, I don't know if this is true. But it says that we just finished learning about Migdal Bavel, that it says that everybody was speaking Hebrew. Hebrew was like the original language. So, okay. Anyway, Hebrew is definitely, without any doubt, the most important language because it's God's language. God himself, God happens to be the creator of the whole universe. And he creates the universe every instant, brand new. And he creates the universe, explains the 20, it's in English, he explains the 22 letters and the 10 sfirot. And that's connected to what's called the 32 paths of Chachma, the 22 and the 10. Okay, let's get back to our subject, which is Yegalalon Tame, let us reveal the reason. Hine milui hey, hey acheres, vehi bechinas kafila, kanoda me'inyan marat amachpela, shehi hey acharona d'shem ban. Okay, what's happening here? Now, what do we say? God, these things of letters is very important, much more important than we think. We think that letters are like a part of the world. You go to a library, there's all these books, and they've got letters in them. There's printing presses, they print letters, and there's letters all over the place. What's letters? Little do we know that this whole world, with the printing presses and everything, they come from letters. And there's also different types of letters. For instance, there's the letters that the world is being created with every moment. Then there's also letters of the Torah, which that contains why the world is being created. There's a different, deeper type of letters. But the whole thing is being created by letters. That's why one reason that everything is being created by letters is that letters make words, and words have meaning, which means everything in this world has some sort of meaning, some sort of infinite, eternal meaning that God is creating at every moment. Who knows why He's doing it? But the secret of this creation, somehow or other, is in these letters, because the world is being created by letters. So we have to understand. Like somebody talks to you, you want to understand what he's saying. And of course, you can understand on different levels of understanding. You can understand just the language the person is speaking. He's speaking to you in French. So you understand the language, French. Then you have to understand, one second, what is the implications? What's he saying? And you're going to understand that every word in French, he's saying, your car is being stolen. So I just, oh yes, your car, I understand these words. Wait, one second. My car is being stolen. It says, yes, oui, it's being stolen. Which car? Where it is? Who's stealing it? All of a sudden you get excited. Now you understood a little bit deeper implication of what the meanings are. So it's the same thing with the word. There's levels and levels of meaning. Let's look heaven see. So it says, now there are the letters of God's name. God has names. Each one of these names of God shows on a different aspect of God, because God creates the world. The world is very complicated, and God gives the Torah, and God reacts to what we do. And sometimes God reacts in a kind way, and sometimes He acts in a kind way, sometimes He reacts in a severe way. And we can see that there's a lot of aspects of the world. That's only the physical world. The spiritual world is even more. And this is all being created by God every single instant. In fact, the instants themselves are created by God. God creates time. We've talked about this a lot of times. But there's a big secret behind it. There's a meaning behind it. What are we supposed to do with all this information? Right? What are we supposed to do with all this information? Become teachers and teach other people so we can, pass the time away? And then but it has to be something practical has to come out of this. Ideally, what's supposed to come practically out of it is that we have love for God. And we have fear of God. And the love of God causes us to do positive things. And the fear of God causes us to refrain from negative things. And who decides what's positive and negative? The Torah. So let's have a look and see. There is one of the names of God is Yud, and then after that Hey, and then after that Vav, and then after that Hey. One of the names of God. It's called the main name of God. Now this name of God has many different ways of spelling it if you spell it phonetically. Phonetically, that's called filling up the letters. For instance, the letter Yud. The letter Yud, its numerical value is 10. It's 10. If you look at the pages in these books, right, you see that the Hebrew alphabet can also be used as a number system. The number Aleph is 1, the number Beis is 2, the number Yud is 10. So let's take the numerical value of the name of God. Yud is 10, Hey is 5, Vav is 6, and Hey is 5. So altogether that makes 26. But if you fill up those letters phonetically, then it comes out to be a lot more. For instance, the Yud is Yud Vav Daled. Yud. Yud Vav Daled. Yud Vav Daled means Yud is 10, Vav is 6, Daled is 4. So it comes out to be 20. That's called filling it up. Now, according to how you fill up these letters of the Yud and the Vav and this, you can get many different numerical values. If you fill up the letters of Hey with another Hey, right, then it comes out to be the gematria, the numerical value of 52. That's called the name of Ban. And this name of Ban is the aspect of God that creates the physical world. The physical world, Ban, that's the physical world. Then there's the name Ma, and there's the name Sag, which that's explained in great length other places, not here. Ha'inyan yuvan, behektim le'inyan achila. Let's understand this whole business about what it means. There's the letters, and the letters are filled, double letters. Double letters. If you fill up the name Yud and then Hey, if you fill it up with the number Hey, so it becomes Kfela, it becomes a double letter Hey. And then it comes out to be the gematria. If you add them all together, the Yud is 20, the Hey, 2 Heys are 10, etc. comes out to be 52. Vav, 52. So what? What does this mean? It means something. Now let's try to figure out what it means. And that's why Abraham bought this place called the double cave, Marat Machpelah. Okay, Herschel? Let's understand this whole idea of eating. We eat, right? Yeah, you eat? Huh? This is, I knew you eat, for sure you eat. I saw you eat yesterday. People eat. They have lunchrooms, people eat. It's a big business. Eating. People eat. Everybody eats. Liot kimina machal nasa chelev adam. From the food that you eat becomes fat and blood. V'dam hu nefesh, and the blood contains the soul, carries the soul. Chayot adam, the life of a person, calls the soul and the life of a person. Shemakabel kaved hadam min hamaychal, that the liver produces food from the food, produces blood from the food. Huh?
Liver doesn't produce blood.
Shemakabel akava, the liver. Receives. I'm sorry. The liver receives the blood from the food. It filters it. V'sholeach lelev, and it sends to the heart. V'lamoach, and the brain. L'talas shlitin, and these are called the brain, the heart, and the liver are called the 3 rulers of the body. Ba'alma kavda liba b'mocha, the liver, the heart, and the brain. By means of this, mis'ala ha'maychal, by means of this, the food that you eat becomes elevated. Shena'aseh mimenu leiv moach, nasu leiv o moach adam, and by means of this food becomes, the food transforms to be a person. You don't eat, no person. By means of this, by means of this, when you eat, it strengthens your heart and your brain. Ba'avodas Hashem, to serve God, to do whatever you want to, but also to serve God. Shebalibo bihis lavus karish be'ish, that your heart can get excited, like fire. Shenase b'koach achila. This is because of the food that you eat. Shebalo achila haya mitchalesh kuli. A person doesn't eat food, he gets weaker and weaker, and he can't think, and he can't move, and he can't do anything. He just... So it comes out, interestingly enough, that from the Torah, the Holy Torah, which was given on Mount Sinai directly by God to the Jewish people after He took them out of Egypt. Incredible. Essence, wisdom of God. It depends on a potato. Why? Because if a person doesn't eat that potato, as he gets all weak and he can't learn. And so the person's service of God is love of God. And so here we have physical food actually controls our lives. You don't have it, you're in bad shape. When there's famine.
Souls don't like bodies that don't eat.
That's right. V'gam also mocho nasa chazak. And also your brain becomes higher, becomes stronger. Shalid bonen b'gedulos Hashem. That you can actually think about the greatness of God. So your heart, your brain, and your liver. Liver is the power of action. V'zeu inyan birur shemen birur. This is the inyan of refinement. Okay, Herschel. Shemin Michael, that from the food, Nasa Adam becomes a human being. Ach calls there will be a mosachol. All of this that you eat the food and the food becomes purified and refined, and you have to use that energy of the food for good things, and you have to fight a big battle so that the potato doesn't pull you down. How many people have lost it because of food? A lot of people. You go crazy. People go crazy over food.
The chicken sandwich.
It was berserk. People go berserk. People overeat. People are anorexic. People get into the pleasure cuisine. They have to have delicacies. They have to. There's a story. This is the Baal Shem Tov. The previous Rebbe brings it in a story that the Baal Shem Tov once on Shabbat he took his pupils anyway for a walk, and they looked in a window and they saw an ox sitting at the Shabbos table, and his family of human beings was sitting around him. Human beings were sitting around, and sitting at the head of the table was an ox with a shtreimel on his head and all dressed up in Shabbos garments. And he was eating cholent. And they said, what is this? What type of bizarre thing is this? And the Baal Shem Tov said, this comes to show you that where a person thinks, that's where he is. He was so into eating the cholent, he enjoyed it so much, that he actually transformed into an ox. Of course, spiritually, they didn't need a view. Would have been... B'Shabbos. In other words, if you get too much into a thing, the world controls you. You know, like people, they buy a new Ferrari or something. They don't own the Ferrari owns them. They go and they polish it all the time, and they're always looking. B'Shabbos, borer, but on Shabbos, this is all talking about the days of the week, in the weekdays. But Shabbos is something totally different. El achila hi yoter el yona bibechinas hamshacha milmayla v'kor l'Shabbos oneg. Little do we know it, but on Shabbos is really totally different than other days. And maybe some people maybe feel it more than others. But the real fact of the matter is, okay, you with me, Herschel? Time, like I say, is a creation. Time is a creation of God. Where a person gets into time, he forgets about God, he forgets about the creation, he forgets about a creator. There's time. Time is it's real. They're talking about there's clocks, they change the clock, and the sun goes around, the moon, right? And the times change, the seasons change. Time is real. Says it's real as anything else is, but everything is a creation, and time is also a creation. If we would feel the creator, we would have a totally different feeling about time. Different feeling about time, what time is. It's almost like a person that, he's a businessman or whatever, and they say, congratulations, you've just been promoted to be the king of the country. Now he's the king of the country, he's got all the money, he has everything. All of a sudden, money is totally different to him. Right? If a $5 drops from his pocket, he doesn't care. He's got everything. Right? No one can cheat him, no one can do anything to him. Right? He said, you just cheated me out of $1 million, you go to jail, put the $1 million into my king. Well, the fact is, there's a king who creates time, and he creates everything. And on Shabbos, we connect to it a little bit. Shabbos is sort of like a day that's not a day. It's supposed to be like a day that there's really sort of no time on Shabbos. And as you can feel, the time is just a creation. Because that's the fact. But you can't feel it. So time is this day where it's like a little window into creation. The same thing like the Holy Temple. The Holy Temple, You went to the Holy Temple, you felt the whole world is just a creation. You felt the whole world is a creation, and you felt because the whole world is a creation, so it has no real meaning to it at all. It's absolutely nothing. The world, nothing. But God is creating it every second. So it must be tremendously important. He's creating the whole world for nothing, everything. People would go to the Holy Temple and be very happy. The same thing on Shabbat, everything is happy. But the point is that when you, on Shabbat, God does all the work. Same thing, you go to the Holy Temple, God does it. On the Yom Kippur, they would go there, the high priest would do all the work. He would do all the work. He would bring forgiveness for everybody. Right? Does that make any sense? Makes sense. Right here we have in Israel, the Israeli basketball team or something goes to the championships. Oh, they won, everybody's happy. What did they have? What are you happy for? He didn't do nothing. You sat at home and you watched it. No, it's our guys, our representative. That's all of us.
I didn't know that.
And once, I think, I told this story. Right? Let's not get into it. The fact is there are representatives, everybody feels proud, Az yisaneg al Hashem. On Shabbos, your whole pleasure, your whole reality is God. Ki. Hine kasiv, it says, Achar v'kedem tzartani. That God created me before, after and before. Achar v'kedem tzartani. Achar l'maaseh bereshis. That man was created before the creation and after the creation. What does that mean? Man was created first in God's mind. That's why God created the whole world, to put man in it. But in fact, God created man last.
I think that's what in the Chadori. I think it's the Chadori.
Something like that.
Shir Hashrim. First in thought, last.
Right.
That's Shabbos.
That's Shabbos, yeah. Because Shabbos is first in thought, because Shabbos is God's day, so God was first. But the last thing He actually created in the creation was Shabbos.
Now you're saying it's man.
Also the same thing. Man is also the same thing. Man was the first one. What did God create the Shabbos for? For man. So really man was first in God's mind. And then after that, God created the whole world in actuality, and the last thing that God created was man, so that the world would be ready for Him when He would arrive. Man is last in creation. What does it mean last in creation? That man, everything was created in front of man, before man, including the potato that he's eating. That's why a potato gives him energy. Okay, Herschel. That food, as it is below, in the what's called the breaking of the vessels, and we'll talk about what the breaking of the vessels is in 1 minute, maybe a little bit more, maybe not. But the breaking of the vessels was essentially a process that God wanted in order to make this world seem to be separate from Him. Shvirat HaKelim. He made this breakage. He had the whole world, and all of a sudden He broke it so that it would seem to be, how do you say, meaningless. The man is before the food. Why? Man is before the food because man purifies the food. I mean, we learn Torah, we do. But in its source above, really, the potato is higher than man. There was what's called the world of Tohu. The world, if you want to call it, the world of confusion, the world of e-harmony. Okay, it means it goes like this. God, when He's creating the world, so there's this process. This is all explained by the Arizal. Don't suspect me that I really understand this. I'm just telling you what it says in the books. And these people that read in the books, they do understand it. The Arizal, the Yitzhak Luria, he's the one who wrote this song that we were just talking about. Okay, Herschel. This is the one who wrote this song. So he says that God, in order to create the world, there was a lot of stages that He went through. And the fact is that these stages were above time. So if you want to say He's going through it now also. This whole idea of the creating of the world, God took from his infiniteness and somehow or other he did this thing where he articulated it and made from infinity, he made a limitation. And the original limitation was very spiritual worlds. One of these levels of limitation that God made before he started to create the order of the world that we're in is a level which is called Tohu. If you want to call it, it's above spiritual. This is above even the world of Atzilut, which is the highest spiritual level. This world of Tohu is essentially just 10 spheres of God, 10 aspects of God's personality, 10 aspects, but totally separate one from the other, no connection one to the other. 10 aspects, the creation that God made, if you want to call it. And God purposely made it in such a way that it was very, very weak. And it burst. It broke. It was too great. It's something like taking 10 geniuses, total geniuses, and putting them in a room together. And say, like they had, remember there was this Manhattan Project, remember that they wanted to create the atom bomb. So they had people that were at the head, but you could imagine that there was nobody at the head of the program. And they just took 10 geniuses, right? And they put them in a room. This guy was a genius in physics, and this was a genius in biology, and this one was in mathematics, and this one was a genius. None of them understood the other one. Totally different subjects. Each one is a genius on his own. What would it be? Total confusion. Right? Totally. Nobody understand anybody else. But on the other hand, everybody's a big genius. This is the ultimate in physics, the ultimate in biology, the ultimate. That's the way God created the world in the beginning. It's like taking, another example, taking 10 of the best musicians. This guy plays a bassoon, and this guy plays an oboe, and this guy plays a violin, and this guy plays and just put them in a room with no music. Say, go for it. Just play your best. Whoever plays the best gets a big prize. They're already just really going crazy, right? Playing the best music you could possibly hear, and it's just total chaos. Total chaos. That's like what the world of Tohu was. God purposely wanted it that way. Pure sphirot. Almost like a painter before he starts painting, he has on his palette all these separate colors. Right? That's what God wanted. Pure. It was that way in order intentionally so that it would burst, it would break, and the vessels of this world would come down into the world, and the lights would go up, and whatever it is, God made it in a special way that this would come down into this world, and we would feel that this world is a totally separate entity. That was called the breaking of the vessels of the world of Tohu. So it says the Rebbe that part of this business about the breaking of the vessels of Tohu was that what was really very, very high became very, very low. So the potato that we eat now that keeps us alive, the reason it keeps us alive is because even though that we're higher than a potato, right? You ever have any doubts about that? Herschel, take a potato sometimes and talk to a potato. You'll see, you can talk to it as slow as you want, as calmly as you want. It doesn't understand anything. It doesn't answer you back. One of the worst partners you could ever have is a potato, a rock. People used to sell rocks, a pet rock, because they didn't make any trouble. They were stupid. They just did absolutely nothing. Huh?
It was a good pet.
Yeah. You didn't have to feed it. You didn't have to this. There's right. The lowest. What are you talking about? A rock is lower than a potato, but a potato is. Nevertheless, a potato and a human being are totally in a different world. If so, how does it come out that a potato feeds a man? That we need the potato. Human beings, intelligent human beings, will fight over a potato if there's nothing to eat, right? A potato somehow becomes tremendously important. How can it possibly be? They say there was when in Ireland there was the potato famine. The English are very cruel over there. So there was a big potato famine. People, they loved potatoes so much that they made a famine. People said there was nothing to eat except for potatoes. That's all there was. There was no potatoes. So everybody left. They died. Whatever they did. Human beings, intelligent people. Yeah, why is that they need food? Why do we need physical food? Because the physical food really has a higher source. It comes from this world of Tohu. That's really before the whole entire creation. But because it broke, Vayamas, it says Vayamas, this idea, it says in the Torah that there were kings that ruled before the kings of Israel. They lived and they died. They ruled and they died. That's talking about the breaking of the vessels. This is all mystical allegories that are written in the Torah. Hints. But we can see that the source of this potato or the rock is really higher than a person. Because we see that food enlivens a person, right? And rocks, you make a house out of this. A house, people fight over land, huh? People with land. What a rock is nothing. You get a whole bunch of rocks. The people make armies, countries of land. What do they say? That nations fight over plots of land. That the plot of land is not big enough to bury all the dead that die because of the land. Rocks, dirt, becomes so tremendously important, right? People. Why? Because the person can actually receive life from the food. Because man is the last thing in creation, and the animals and things, they come beforehand to hint that they have a higher source. But on Shabbos, which is the Shabbos is the time when all the worlds raise up to their source, the food also, the whole world, raises up, kamoshu b'shorsho, as it is in its source, the nimshach mimenu chayes lanefesh milamayla lamata. Then you do not have to eat the potato in order to refine it. The potato gives you not only physical life, but the potato also gives you spiritual life, because this potato somehow or other shines its source, the source of tohu, lamata, al yadeh, by means of the 12 breads that were in the holy temple. Okay, what's going on over there? The holy temple.
This source of spiritual enrichment isn't available in the potato on the days other than Shabbos?
It's available the rest of the days, but you have to work in order to get it. You have to make a blessing on the potato, and you have to, when you eat the potato, you have to eat it in a normal way, and then you have to use the energy of the potato in order to serve God. Be a nice person, be an honest person, learn Torah, do the commandments, right? Withstand tests, whatever you do. But
so how is it different on Shabbos?
now on Shabbos it says that the food raises its source, shines in to the food. It's the source of everything, shines into everything on Shabbos. So therefore you don't have to do so much purification. This is the idea that a tzaddik eats in order to satisfy his soul. There's two types of food. One is in order to satisfy your soul. And the other one is it says the stomach of the evil people is always lacking. Eating in order to satisfy your soul, this is to give life to your soul, namely what? Life that comes from above, the spiritual power which is in this potato. Ubetim Rishoyim, the stomach of the evil people, Rishoyim, this is what's called Chitzonim, this is what's called external people. What's the difference between an evil person and a good person? What's the difference between them? Simply, the difference is selfishness. That's simply the difference, is selfishness. Selfishness is a very complicated sort of a business, but selfishness is the... What does it mean, selfishness? Selfishness means looking only at the outside of everything. Looking only at the outside of everything. What's in it for me?
Eye toward yourself.
Right. You don't think, what is God making this thing for? Why is this thing happening? What does God want from me? What does God want me to react? What does God want me to act? That's what Judaism is based on. Right? Abraham, the first Jew. Why is he called the first Jew? Because he passed what we call 10 tests. What are these tests? The tests are, who are you going to think about? You're going to think about what God wants, or you're going to think about what you want? If he would have thought about what he wants personally, and any one of the business, he would have left the whole business, right? God says to him, for instance, Lech Lecha, we had in the Persian, go from this land where you are and go to the promised land. I'm going to show you, and you will be a great nation, and you will have children. And Abraham does what God says. He goes there, and there's nothing to eat. Natural thing happens. Famines happen in the world. It happens. What's the big deal? The big deal is that God's supposed to be the king of the universe, and God is supposed to be good. If God is good and God is the king of the universe, then there's no food. I'm going to die. This doesn't make any sense, right? A normal person would say, yes, it makes sense. It makes sense that what? I was mistaken. This God, either he doesn't exist, or he's not good, or he can't keep his promises, or he's not almighty. But anyway, something is missing over here. I'm going to change jobs, change bosses. Any normal person would say that, right? You go and work for somebody, tells you to work in a job, and what's the job? You have to go to the 100th floor or something and clean windows without any safety belt. And you do it, you work hard, you're risking your life, and there's winds over there and birds and something like that, and you come down, you say, where's my pay? Pay? Who said pay? You said you're going to pay me. Nah, it's a thing you do for your enjoyment, you do it. I didn't enjoy that. Well, that's your problem. I'm getting another job, right? That's what Abraham did. He left everything he had. He went down to the promised land. There was nothing to eat. And any normal person would say, okay, he was with his wife. And then after that, his wife gets kidnapped. All this. Who's the boss of the world over here? What's going on? I'm trying to do these good things, and all these not good things happen. Right? What's happening? So this is a very, very, very deep secret, but this is the basis of Judaism. The basis of Judaism. And God promises it's going to be good. God promises, and God is a good God, and God wants it to be good. But we see that a lot of times it's really not good. God forbid. I mean, we pray every day, 19 prayers, 3 times a day. The thing should be good. And we believe that God listens to all the prayers. So what's going on over here? So he says, okay, that's how the world works. That's how the world works. That's what's called a person is called a rasha. A bad person. What does it mean, a bad person? He thinks about himself. I mean, obviously, this person is not a bad person, right? If your boss promises you he's going to, pay you at the end of the week, and you're risking your life the whole week, and you say, I'm going to get a new job, that's not a bad worker. That's not a bad worker, right? If God tells you he's going to give you profits, and he's going to give you this, and you're going to get the good and blessing and everything like that, and God doesn't come across, and you quit, that's not bad person, is it? He says, yes, it is. That's called a bad person. This is a whole different standard. That's what the Tanya talks about. That's exactly what the Tanya talks about. It's a whole different standard of what reality is. It's like a policeman or a soldier, right? A policeman or a soldier or even a doctor. These people go into places where everybody runs away from. Right? Someone's sick, everybody gets away from him. A doctor runs toward him. Right? There's danger, a policeman runs into the danger. Right? These people are not appreciated enough, or maybe they don't appreciate themselves, but nevertheless, you go into a place, it's a different orientation of what the world is about. A different orientation about what is life and why we're here and what... Okay, that's what we're trying to get into. That's the idea of a chassid. The chassidi umas ha'olam, chassidi. Achila b'chol, the eating that we do on the weekdays. We're almost finished. The eating that we do on the weekdays. This is the level of birur. I'm sorry, is that where we are? Yeah, Rashayim, that's what it's... So it says, if you have the proper spiritual outlook and you eat food in order to satisfy your soul and not just your body, then even in a thing which is so mundane and simple and ordinary like eating, you can transform it into a tremendous service of God by just eating and thinking about why am I here in the world, right? To do good things. By means of this, by means of eating food properly and making the blessing and using the food for the energy for what God wants, is that you elevate this food. And now we don't see this elevation. You look at the person, but there are big tzaddikim that can see. There are big tzaddikim that they can see. They can see elevation by means of what happens when you do a commandment, when you eat food according to what God wants. V'zeu batan rashoim techsar shenechsar achaya shabalo. That the stomach of the evil people is always lacking. What does it mean it's always lacking? It is lacking the good spark, the spark of goodness in this potato that they were supposed to elevate, and they didn't elevate it. We talked about this before, about the idea of elevation. Okay, Herschel, you with me? We talked about this thing, like if you have what does it mean elevate? What does it mean elevate the power in the food? Religious Jews are eating food all the time. We don't see any elevation. What does it mean to elevate? What does it mean elevate the food? The food floats above. You don't need dishes anymore. It floats above the. What does it mean elevate? So the example is given also in Chassidus that if you have a book and you scatter all the letters around, cut each and every letter out, and you scatter all the letters. Now each letter has a purpose. Each letter has a meaning. If you take a letter and write a letter on Shabbat, you've done a sin. You can't. But all these letters are all jumbled up. You can't figure out. It has no meaning whatsoever. After a while, you just throw the thing away. Just a big pile of letters. But if somebody comes along and starts to put the letters back into order, so suddenly the letters start forming words. Then you don't pay so much attention to the letters anymore. Now you have a bunch of words. Now you have another problem. What do the words mean? So you put the words in the proper context. Now you have sentences. Now as soon as you have a sentence, you don't see the words so much. The words, you don't pay attention to them so much anymore. You pay attention to what the sentence means, right? He went to the window and he looked out at the sunrise. Okay, so you don't look at each word, but what does it mean? Then you put it into paragraphs. And then you put paragraphs, now you have a book. When you have the book, the whole entire book, so you don't really pay so much attention to the letters or the words or the sentences or even the paragraphs. You're just paying attention to the meaning, what it is, right? You get some of these books that are good, you can't put it down, right? You want to see you're not reading the letters or the words, right? So it's the same exact thing. That's called elevation. The letters, as they are separate, they're letters. As you put them into a word, it's not a letter anymore. It's now part of a word. When you put the words in the sentence, it's not even a word anymore. It's a sentence. It has a deeper meaning to it. It has more of a meaning, a more encompassing meaning, a more actual meaning. So it's the same thing. When you use the energy in food, in your car, in your clothes, you use everything properly. So this makes the world a little more orderly, right? This, what I just said, is faith. You have to believe this. You have to believe it. You don't have to believe it if you don't want to. You can do whatever you want. But this is Jewish faith.
So it's how we use the energy that we derive from the food.
Right.
Affects whether we raise.
Yes. And in addition to that, the food has to be kosher. It has to be raisable. This is explained in the Tanya in great length in the 6th chapter, the 7th chapter, 8th chapter. Hine, ha'achila shebechol, when a person eats food in the weekdays, hu bebechinas birur, hulios betem rishayim techzar. When a person eats in the weekdays, he has to do this purification to get rid of the bad. That's what's called the stomach of the evil is missing. If you do make a mistake, then the eating is not done properly. You've lowered down the spark which is in this. When a person eats on Shabbos, his amshacham milamayla l'sovea nafsho. When a person eats on Shabbos, it's a different type of eating. The source of this food shines into your stomach when you eat it. Because of this food, because of the food, because it shines in like it is in its source before it fell down in the breaking of the vessels. She'ein bo birur. And when it fell down into the breaking of the vessels, then this food became very physicalized. But beforehand, it was very spiritual and wonderful. The food was in its source, and that's what you get a little bit of a ray of on Shabbos, the food in its source before it came down. Like it says in the Zohar, Perish Shabbatchem lo ka'omar. It says, God says, it's one of the prophecies, what is it I think it's Isaiah, that God says, who needs your sacrifices? Who needs your this, right? Your holidays, you just keep for yourselves, for your own personal pleasure. It says the the excrement from the holidays, from the food that you ate on the holidays, I will smear on your faces. So it says the waste products from the food you ate on the holidays, yes, but not on Shabbos. It says on Shabbat, even if a person eats improperly because he's keeping Shabbat, is then nevertheless there still is holiness in the food. It could be that the person himself lowers himself down, but the food doesn't do it. The food. Okay, Urshel. כי יש פרש שהוא הפסולוס שבמובחר, שהמובחר שולח ללב המוח, והפסולוס ירד למטה. That's how the digestive system works, right? The excretory system. The good food, the food that you eat, is somehow or other the body knows to take the usable energy, whatever it is, the nutrients and this, and to separate them from the waste. And the waste gets pushed out. Waste gets pushed out. Says, what if a person eats improperly? Let's say he stuffs himself with food. So it could be that all the good stuff also comes out the waste. Right? It becomes unedible. Vomit and things like that. Unedible. So it says that's what happens. A person eats improperly, spiritually, talking about spiritually, eats improperly spiritually in the weekdays or even on the holidays, Yom Tov. Says then the food stays where it is. The good spark that you had, that you were supposed to elevate, you don't elevate, and that exactly the opposite, it goes out with all the waste. You've wasted the good spark that's in it. Says that happens all the time, but not on Shabbat. Shabbat is different, and this song that we're singing, it was a song we sing on Shabbat. Amen. This is the purification that we have to make. Aval b'Shabbos, and Shabbos, which comes from above to below. Shabbos is a gift from above. And bo psolos kolol, there is no waste products at all spiritually. Who me ate shkia psolos, because the waste products come from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and below this becomes good and evil in everything. For instance, when Adam ate from the tree, from the Eitz Hadas Tov Ra, what happened when he ate from the tree of knowledge? It was food, right? Food. But what did he do? He took the good and he brought it down into bad. V'gam b'kol adam yesh taruvas tov ra. Everybody has, since Adam is affected by this mixture, confusion of what is good and what is bad. Rak she'enu shava b'kol nefesh. Some people have less bad in them. Some people have more confusion. Yesh shetov lano meruba, shetov shalo meruba. Some people have more good in them than others, and others more godliness. Ke yesh shetov shalo hu b'bechinas zu, aber b'Shabbos az tisanagal Hashem lamayla me'etz hadas lo yagur chora klal at all. Okay, what's the Rebbe saying? The Rebbe is saying like this. We haven't finished the mimer yet. The first mimer in Parshas Chayei. That nothing in this world is simple. We're put in this world in order to refine, purify, clarify the world. This world is really a tremendous miracle. Everything in the world is being created by God every second for a purpose. God does not have to create the world. The world is not a mistake. It's not God spit one day and it came out a world or something like that. The world is tremendously, every detail tremendously meaningful, but it's not meaningful in our normal sense. It's meaningful in a godly sense. And the Jews were put here in the world in order to tell everybody this. That the world is a big miracle and the people are even bigger miracles. So as everything is really much, much infinitely more meaningful and real than we can possibly imagine. And infinite. Everything you do, everything you say. So it has infinite importance. Infinite importance. When a person knows that, it's different. There's nothing, I don't know if there is, nothing worse than being rejected. Feeling you have no purpose. Your wife doesn't want you, the boss doesn't want you, the teachers doesn't want, nobody wants to have anything. The worst thing in the world, you feel useless, terrible. You're a loser, a failure. Right? You're rejected all over, people are bullying, they have you're ugly, you're this, the worst thing in the world. When a person is important and he knows he has a function, a purpose in the world, no matter how small it is, right? Oh, he becomes useful, he becomes this. Well, everyone is being created by God, and because everybody is useful. Not that you have a job, you're being created. Having a job means you're a person and you get a job. Here, God is creating you every second because you're useful, because you're valuable. That's pretty good. That's even better than being hired for a job. The thing is to feel this. So in the weekdays, we're here in order to purify, rectify the world, things that happen in the world, to not let it get us down, and that we should keep ourselves up. We'll talk about this. That elevates the world. On Shabbos, we get a little bit of a taste of who we're working for. We get a little bit of a taste of who the boss is, who's creating us, who's giving us this meaning, right? We get a little bit of a connection to how important the Creator is and how infinitely real and happy it is to serve Him. That's supposed to be what we get on Shabbos, as we'll talk about more, God willing, tomorrow.
We haven't gotten up to the part yet that it started with. It's the line from the song, double.
No.